He did really well. He created many chances, almost scored, but 16, unbelievable.
Watch this space. What a player. Garang Kuol. Off the bench. Remember his name.
Football, often described as the beautiful game, where players glide across the pitch with incredible skill and agility. The beauty in this story, though, refers to the tale told off the pitch. It is a story of how sports brings us together as a nation, where even those who are not born in Australia are not only welcomed, but have the opportunity to thrive. From fleeing Egypt to migrating to rural Shepparton, Victoria, and now on the world's biggest footballing stage. This is the story of the 18-year-old Australian Wonderkid, Garang Kuol. We start 11,557 kilometres away from Australian shores to the North African country of South Sudan. The Second Sudanese Civil War lasted between 1983 to 2005, had one of the highest civilian death tolls of any world war, and displaced 4 million South Sudanese citizens. The Koul family were amongst those 4 million and were forced to find refuge in the northeast African nation of Egypt towards the end of the Second Sudanese Civil War. Although they were able to escape the danger of war, living conditions aren't too favourable in Egypt, with employment and education rarely granted to South Sudanese refugees. Garang's mother, Antonita, would say, "We went to Egypt as refugees, and while we were there a lot of people lost their lives, so it was an emotional time." In 2004, whilst in Egypt, Garang Kuol was born, with the family a year later moving to Australia. The Koul family would reside in the suburb of Shepparton, 200 kilometres north of Melbourne. It is here where Garang's love for the game of football grew. Garang Kuol is one of 8 siblings, with 6 of them being brothers. His love of football developed in the backyard of the Koul Shepparton property. It's here where he and his brothers would play from dusk till dawn, denting the fence with the football. They would religiously watch a tape that mashed up Socceroos highlights from greats like Mark Bresciano and Timmy Cahill as they tried to replicate the clips from the video in the yard. Garang would start his footballing career with the Goulburn Valley Suns at the under-12 level. He would progress rapidly at the club, where at just 14 years of age, he was playing in the team's under-18 side, and at 15 he was playing for the Valley Suns NPL2 men's side. Garang would often play for the under-16, 18 and men's side, featuring in 3 games in a single day. Garang at just 15 would feature in a pre-season match against NPL side Dandenong City, which featured multiple former A-League players. He would absolutely tear the former pros apart in a 15-minute cameo against Dandenong, where it was clear Koul was a special talent. The rise of Garang was not straightforward though. Footballing fees in Australia tend to be quite expensive, with registration to just play NPL being $2,500. This does not include the transportation and equipment expenses, which is why many players are lost in the system. Garang's parents would excessively work to provide for their children, with both his parents working as dry cleaners, while his mother also worked at a fruit factory. Koul and his brothers were often reliant on neighbours and members of the community to drive them to and from games whilst their parents worked. His parents would wash the kits for the club to subsidise the NPL fees. It was here where the community of Shepparton would step up for both Garang and his older brother Alou, needing $8,000 for a trip to represent rural Victoria in footballing tournaments in Japan and Spain. This would give the pair an opportunity to showcase their skills to international scouts, but unfortunately his parents were only able to save $4,000 of the $8,000 needed. The community of Shepparton would fundraise the remaining $4,000, allowing the Koul brothers to represent regional Victoria overseas. Antonita, Garang's mother, was overjoyed, stating, "We are very blessed to be in Shepparton." The contributions of older brother Alou Kuol cannot be understated either. Alou is a baller himself. Under the tutelage of Goulburn Valley Suns head coach Craig Carley, Alou really paved the way for his younger brother. He would dominate the NPL2 league, slotting 20 goals in 12 games, and was given a 1-month trial with both Melbourne Victory and Western United. Alou made the 200-kilometre trek into Melbourne and couch surfed during the trial period, only to be rejected by both clubs. A week later, he would earn a contract with the Central Coast Mariners though. Once arriving, Alou would inform the Mariners of his talented younger brothers, Garang and Tang, who would both secure trial deals for the club. Garang's talent at a young age was undeniable, but the sacrifices made for both his family and the Shepparton community laid the platform for Garang Kuol's career, and boy has he taken the opportunity. On the 24th of January 2021, 16-year-old Garang Kuol would successfully trial with the Mariners and secure a spot in the youth academy. After older brother Alou had bossed it in his first season with the Mariners, getting a dream move to Stuttgart in the Bundesliga and doing things like this.
Najarian. Rawlins crying out for a first-time cross-catch. Oh!
The Koul hype train was real, and Australian footballing fans were keen to see what younger brother Garang had to offer. Mariners head coach Nick Montgomery, who brought in both Alou and Garang, would give Garang his debut 11 months later on the 21st of December in the FFA Cup. At just 17, Koul would debutise at the Mariners, and it would only take 7 minutes for him to make his mark.
Opportunities for young players like this man, Garang Kuol. Look at the speed of Koul and the goal as well.
As Koul looks set to make his debut in the A-League, a mid-season knee surgery would sideline him for 2 months, ultimately delaying the debut to the 5th of April 2022. Within a few minutes, Koul would do this.
Here's a long ball. Garang Kuol is there, and he scores!
A goal on debut at just 17 is remarkable. It's safe to say Garang did not look back from here. He would continue his tear with 4 goals and an assist in 9 bench cameos. He was averaging a goal every 47.25 minutes, becoming the most efficient scorer in the A-League. It's here where Bundesliga and Serie A clubs started to inquire about the young talent, and keep in mind at this point Koul was yet to sign a professional contract with the club. The Garang Kuol rise was already meteoric, but the hype had really only just begun.
He did really well. He created many chances, almost a score. So 16, unbelievable.
Barcelona. In the world of football, it does not get much bigger. With the A-League All-Stars vs Barcelona exhibition scheduled to conclude the 2022 A-League season, there'd be no better chance for a young hopeful like Koul to make a name for himself. Although still incredibly young, Koul would be selected in the 30-man squad as one of the 2 commissioner picks. Coming off the bench in the 57th minute in front of a sold-out 70,000 in attendance, you wouldn't blame Koul for not being assertive. I mean, the occasion was big, going up against the likes of Sergio Busquets, Ousmane Dembele and Dani Alves. The thing is, Koul is fearless. Like he had time and time again throughout his career, Koul made the most of his opportunities and took the game to the 5-time European champions.
Accelerates. Kuol still going. The chance for Garang Kuol. Chips it over. Oh, and he's put...
Koul doesn't just run with the ball, he glides. His technical ability is second to none. Only 2 years prior, he was mixing up former A-League stars in semi-pro competition. Now he's doing it against the world's best. Praise from one of the greatest ballers ever, Xavi, only solidified Koul's excellent display. Garang had gone now from our young Aussie super prospect to a footballing wonderkid, catapulted now into the mainstream. While still in school, Garang would sign his first professional contract with the Mariners in the A-League off-season. His class could no longer be ignored by Socceroos head coach Graham Arnold, as he was called up to the national team. He would bypass both the Australian under-20 and under-23 sides, as he was selected for the friendly against New Zealand.
Calling for yet to start an A-League match. 9 times off the bench, 4 goals.
Koul's debut made him the 6th youngest Socceroo of all time, and youngest since Harry Koul in 1996. Almost instantly, Koul made an impact, which led to a goal. Garang's performance only pushed his name closer to making that Socceroos World Cup squad in 2022. After months of speculation, Koul's dream move to Europe would materialise. From Shepparton to St James's Park, the world's richest club had come knocking, Newcastle United. Signing a deal that would put him on par financially with the top earners from the NRL and AFL, many dream of signing in Europe's biggest league, but very few Aussies have achieved it. He would join the likes of Socceroo legends like Harry Koul and Mark Bosnich as players who signed with Premier League clubs in their teens. Although signed, the transfer was to be actualised in January of 2023, meaning Koul would return to the Mariners. Koul continued to shine. His return could be summed up with his final game for the Central Coast Mariners. With the side trailing 2-0 and a man down, Koul came on in the 55th minute, winning a penalty and scoring 2 goals.
That is, ladies and gentlemen, Garang Kuol.
Koul brought the Mariners single-handedly back into that game. It had become the norm for Garang, who was directly involved in a goal every 36 minutes, statistically more productive than Erling Haaland. Yes, the A-League is dwarfed in terms of class and stature compared to the Premier League, but Koul was doing all he could to stake his claim into that World Cup team. Those hopes became a reality when he was selected in the final 26-man Socceroo lineup headed to Qatar. This selection made Garang the 2nd youngest player to be selected for the World Cup tournament. Despite this, very few would argue the selection of Koul, who will go to the World Cup to not just make up the numbers, but is considered Australia's X-Factor. His selection is much more substantial than just acknowledging his footballing class though. It recognises the multiculturalism of Australia. Koul will join fellow African refugees Thomas Deng and Alou Mabil, alongside 6 other internationally born Socceroos in the World Cup squad. At 18, Garang Kuol is just getting started, but he has already achieved extraordinary things. His story is one that was cultivated through family, community and hard work. It's a story that has inspired the next generation of migrant Australians, a prime example to why we call the game of football the world game.
I want to inspire young children to dream big and, sky's the limit.